let's spend a little bit of time talking about the 5 hidden powers of questions. Now, I'm going to give you all 5 as we go through this session, and we're going to really dig down deep into each one of these so that you're walking away with some rock solid options. Options, they create freedom. The more choices that we have, the more opportunities that we can uncover. When I talk about the hidden power of questions, well, what exactly does that even mean? You see, motivation to do something different, it comes from thought. It's recognizing what we have right now and maybe thinking about what we would like to be different. Now, we're going to dig more into that as we go into the session, but let's start right there. Motivation comes from thought. When we start asking good questions, here's exactly what's happening. We're letting someone challenge for themselves what it is they have and inviting them to figure out, would you like something to be different? You see, good questions, here's what they do. I like to use the analogy of a game of chess. We've all played the game of chess. Well, maybe you haven't, but here's the deal. The most powerful piece on the chessboard is the queen. A queen can move in any direction, as many spaces as she wants. We think about asking good questions. Here's the analogy that I like to draw. Would you rather be the most powerful piece on the board, or would you rather be the hand that moves the pieces? Now, let me give that to you one more time. Would you rather be the most powerful piece on the board or the hand that moves the pieces? See, there's power, and then there's real power. That's kind of interesting when we think about it that way, isn't it? You know, good salespeople, they have good answers. Great salespeople have great questions. Which one do you want to be? Amateur salespeople, here's what that looks like. They feel the need to control the conversation. They're hoping, I guess, to get enough good stuff out there, enough information, hopefully they're going to say something that's going to snag a piece of your attention and make you interested. Now, we're going to dig more into that later, but let's think about that. They're going to say something to make you interested. Trying to make someone interested is like forcing someone to have fun. It's just not going to happen. You know, we can almost sense an amateur salesperson from far away. You know, we can smell it, can't we? If they start to ask questions, we can almost feel that by answering that question, it's identifying us as a prospect. And it feels like a trap, doesn't it? It can get very easy to get caught up in this idea of being interesting versus interested. You know, asking questions that open doors creates opportunities. We're going to dig into specific things that you can say, but for right now, let's start with a 30,000-foot view and talk about some of the hidden powers of that questions have. We're going to dig into some specific things that you can say, but for right now, let's start with a 30,000-foot view and talk about some of the hidden powers that questions have. There's 5 of them. And now, is this the be-all, end-all list? Absolutely not. But in the last 15 plus years, these are 5 hidden powers that I've seen whenever I've had a chance to work with someone one-on-one or when I'm in a selling situation and I'm sitting across the desk from a good fit or a prospect. Here's the first one. Control. Good questions will put you in charge of the conversation. Have you ever noticed this? In any interaction, there's always one person that's reacting a little bit more than the other. You know, if I introduce a topic, if you ask a question and you introduce a topic, let's say we're going to be talking about apples. You're determining the topic, and we can talk about anything that you like, what color they are, what they taste like, the different varieties, where you can buy them. But here's what literally just happened. We're still talking about apples. What we're going to do is we're going to start creating situations where the logistics are more in your favor. One of the things that happens all the time is we say, you know, I'd love to ask more questions, Sean, but to tell you the truth, I don't know what to say. Or here's a big one. I don't want to ask the kinds of questions that feel manipulative. I don't want to ask the kinds of questions where somebody feels like if they answer it, that we've just caught them. Well, good. I'm not here to coach to that. What you and I are going to be coaching to are some alternatives on how to introduce a subject, how to bring up a topic, and invite people to join in on the conversation as it relates to them. The first hidden power of questions is it gives you control over what it is we're going to be talking about. Here's the second one: information. When we think about information, we can think about all the basic stuff, right? Who, what, where, when, why, how. But let's step back and dig just a little deeper. That's amateur stuff. You and I are coaching to pro level stuff here, okay? What we're talking about is information, and here's what it means. Everybody has a really good reason for everything they do. Now, let's qualify good. Good could simply mean it was the best option that they felt they had at that moment in time. Fair enough? Now, one of the concepts that we're going to be coaching to, a theme almost, if you will, that's going to come up again and again and again in our conversations, is this idea that says people do things for their reasons and not necessarily the right reasons. The more information that you have, the better you can understand what's actually going on. As they start to explain, you can actually begin to recognize what their motivation is. Here's a kind of silly example. I have a big old truck that I drive. Okay, it's a Toyota Tundra. For those of you that know me, I've got a pretty large family. My wife and I are foster parents, so we have kids coming in and out of the house a lot. It's a big truck, and I drive this truck everywhere I go. But here's the thing. There's a couple of gas stations in the area of the world that I live, and there's only a couple of gas stations by my house that actually sell the good fuel, the kind that I like. The one that I actually go to is the farthest away from my house. How come? Well, we talk about this idea of getting information to figure out what's really going on. That particular gas station happens to sell a brand of hot chocolate that my 8-year-old daughter, Caitlin, really likes. That's it. It's not because the fuel's any cheaper. It's not because the people are any nicer. The facilities are pretty much the exact same from one gas station to another. I'm going to the one that's farthest away from my house because they happen to have a brand of hot chocolate that my daughter enjoys. Now here's where it gets a little crazy. Ask me, Sean, how often does your daughter ride with you when you need to go fill up the truck? Well, maybe once or twice a month. But the fact is that she likes that place, and that makes me like that place. See, everybody has their own unique reasons. And by the way, they only have to make sense to them. That scenario that I just told you about, you might be sitting there thinking, Sean, that's crazy, or that's the dumbest thing that I've ever heard, but that's okay. These are my reasons. Think about some of the choices that you make before we go a lot further. Think about some of the choices that you make that if you explain those reasons to somebody else, they might look at you and think you're crazy. Can you relate to this? Yeah, I'm sure you can. All right, so here's hidden power number 3, listening. Now, we've all heard the idea that we should talk less and listen more. That's kind of hard to do, isn't it? Specifically in the beginning of the conversation. When you want to listen more, here's a great way to do it. Ask a question. And see, initially, it's our job to get information, not to give it. One of the things that separates amateurs from professionals is the ability to have enough confidence in their competence to not feel that they need to monopolize the entire conversation. Here's what happens. When you and I, when we start getting better at recognizing opportunities to ask questions, no longer are you and I going to feel all that pressure that comes with trying to be interesting, trying to make somebody be interested in what we're saying. What we're going to be able to start doing at the end of this course is asking some questions to find out their reasons, because we know that people make decisions for their reasons and not always the right reasons, and certainly never for the salesperson's reasons. See, you and I, our job is to figure out who's already interested and then start asking questions to figure out why. See, that's really the idea, the thing that separates amateurs from professionals. Having enough confidence in your competence to take all the pressure off yourself. Don't worry about being interesting. Ask some questions and let them tell us why they would be interested. Here's what else comes. Bonding. Questions, they actually reveal some personal details about the other person. things that they're very, very interested in. See, when I start to tell you a story, I begin to feel like you get me, like you understand exactly where I'm coming from. When I tell you a story about where I go to buy the fuel for my truck, I'm actually letting you in on quite a lot of information, aren't I? I'm telling you that I've got a large family. I'm telling you that I have an 8-year-old daughter. I'm telling you that her opinion matters to me very, very much. And I'm telling you that the kind of truck that I have, I'm telling you how my gas stations are in my area that sell a particular brand of fuel. As I start to share this with you, I start to feel like you understand me exactly where I'm coming from, and for no other reason than I just explained it to you. I told you all my reasons. I'm letting you in on a small piece of my world. Here's a big one. Persuading. We ask questions to get people to persuade themselves. It helps the other person to think and consider something maybe from a different point of view. You know, when someone is answering or describing what's going on, they start to get emotionally involved in the conversation. They let their guard down. Motivation, it comes from thought. You know, for years and years, I read different sales books and I went to different seminars. And I don't know if you can relate to this or not, but I always thought it was just me. I couldn't figure out how to get somebody emotionally involved in a conversation. They always said that people buy logically, but they make decisions emotionally. Here's what it was. How do you do that? How do you get somebody emotionally involved in a situation, in what it is that you sell? Think about this. I have clients that sell office supplies. How do you get somebody emotionally involved in thinking about office supplies? But here's how we do it. We let them start to tell us a story about what's going on. We're going to be getting into some very specific questions that we can ask that will help set the stage. But for right now, let's just look at it like this. Questions, they invite people to join in on the conversation as it relates to them. Their reasons, not ours. See, amateurs, they're preloaded with features and benefits. They can't wait to tell you all the great things about what they sell, hoping to spark some interest. And when we think about the hidden power of questions, why not just ask? Is this something that you'd be interested in? How come? Their reasons, not ours. Usually there's a specific reason that they're talking to you. They have reasons why they want to know more. And odds are better than good that it's not anywhere near what you thought it would be.